Eighth grader Kirsten Larson has been experiencing near-fainting spells for most of her life. But one day during a school trip to the Statue of Liberty, she and her mother finally realized that these spells are far more serious than either of them ever imagined possible. In a state of panic, Leslie rushes Kirsten in to see her old pediatrician.
She really listened to every part of me. She's using a stethoscope, but she's just, she's listening and she's taking her time.
For the first time in 13 years, Kirsten and her mother are hopeful. Someone finally seems to be taking her health seriously. But they're completely unprepared for what the doctor has to say.
The doctor seemed to have heard a heart murmur. Now, that was the first time anyone said anything like that.
A heart murmur is an unusual sound that can be heard in addition to your normal heartbeat. While most murmurs are harmless, some can be a sign of significant heart problems.
I'm describing symptoms, and describing all the incidents. And she knows that's not normal. This kid's going through something, and her heart is pounding.
In that moment, the Larsons' world is turned completely upside down.
She said, this is beyond my area, and I'd like you to see Dr. LaCourte. You've got to get to see him, and you got to get to see him now.
Just a few hours later, pediatric cardiologist Dr. Michael LaCourte is waiting for them when they arrive at his office.
She looked like an adorable 13-year-old girl who looked perfectly fine. I assumed that she was going to be like all the other kids pretty much I'd seen that day who would have basically nothing of any great concern.
And I go in, and he listens to me.
Our job as pediatric cardiologists is to detect the difference between what we would call an innocent or normal murmur and a murmur that might be due to a blocked valve or a hole in the heart.
And his face turns white. He says, "Not right. This isn't good. I don't know what it is."
He came out of his office with a look of, I guess it was restrained horror on his face.
I just basically said, I think we've got a problem here, and that is when I made the decision that she needed a different level of care.
Dr. LaCourte believes he knows what Kirsten has, and it's not good. He immediately refers the Larsons to Dr. Robin Barst, a renowned pediatric cardiologist who specializes in rare diseases.
She was and is the person that everybody knows and sends children with this rare problem to because she's the most experienced.
Suddenly, the clock is ticking. Dr. LaCourte makes it very clear that Kirsten has to see Dr. Barst immediately. Her life is on the line.
There were a lot of words like incurable, rare, no known cause.
My parents are terrified. I'm terrified for them. Kids react to their parents' reactions, and I can only imagine what's going through their heads.
I don't even think I could explain how I felt.
In a state of shock, the Larsons rush across town to an emergency appointment with Dr. Barst. All the time, they are praying that she'll be able to help them understand the mysterious illness that Kirsten may be suffering from.
She was scared. She didn't know what was going on. She was a slightly chubby child, and I started asking questions about what her history was, what she was able to do, and in a relatively short period of time, even before we started to initiate the tests, I was pretty suspicious that she in fact really did have this very rare condition.
I started feeling a little feeling of dread right now. What have they found? What did they see?
Because the prognosis for this rare disease is so horrific, it's exceedingly important that we are absolutely convinced and are absolutely accurate about the diagnosis. We need to do an invasive procedure, which is a cardiac catheterization, to confirm the diagnosis. We push the catheters up into the heart and into the blood vessels in the lung. We can make pressure measurements. We measure the amount of oxygen in the different chambers of the heart.
But the crucial test can only be performed in the hospital, so Dr. Barst immediately admits Kirsten.
Kirsten had never been in the hospital ever in her life. Not tonsils, not for any reason. So that was scary. Scary for her, scary for me, scary for everybody.
Well, they tell me that it's a surgery I have to be awake for. And I said, what? And it's gonna take about 6 to 8 hours. What? and we have to go in through the groin area. What?
Internally, I was screaming, give me an answer. Tell me what is wrong with this child.